Alright, so you're facing a short serve, maybe with some backspin, and you're met immediately with a crossroads. Do you go for a safe push or do you go for a flick? This isn't just about hitting the ball over the net. This strategic dilemma dictates who controls the rest of the point in some cases. If you make the wrong decision, the wrong choice, then you lose the initiative, you lose the attacking edge, you give the attack to your opponent, you go on the defensive, and it allows your opponent to dictate the rest of the point, which is not something that we want. I'm Kush Baveja. I started training competitively at 14 years old. By 15, I was selected for the state team. I coach both in person and online, and I've been doing that for about 3 years now. I'm going to try and show you today how to truly master the strategic interplay of the push and the flick, so you know when to attack with aggression and when to defend with control. First, let's discuss the upsides and downsides of the flick and the push. Then I'll explain the strategic decision-making framework that I use to choose between the two. Alright, quick camera change. So let's start with the flick. The flick is a modern table tennis weapon that's used to start attacking shorter pushes, shorter serves. Flicking allows you to take immediate control of the rally, and it turns a passive ball into an aggressive opening. Executing a flick requires an aggressive, proactive mindset. Hesitation will lead to errors. When you execute a good flick, you get a strong surprise factor. You can catch your opponent off guard with a strong flick, making them passive, allowing you to start controlling the point. Another advantage of the flick over the push is that the flick is faster than a push, and a strong, well-executed flick can often cause a lot of problems, making your opponent resort to defensive strategies. When you're flicking, you also get to take the attacking initiative. Opponents often serve short to prevent an attack. A flick immediately puts you on the offense, placing them under pressure and potentially disrupting their psychological game. And of course, with flicking, you can do more. With a push, you can only really add a little bit of side spin if you want variation. But with a flick, you can add top spin, you can add heavy top spin, you can add backspin even on a good strawberry flick. There's a lot you can do with the flick. Now, if we either look at the push, while this is often seen as a purely defensive stroke, the push is a sophisticated tool for controlling the rally, neutralizing your opponent's serves, and strategically establishing future offensive opportunities within the point. It's far more than a simple safe return. It's crucial for smart rally construction. Its main purpose is to maintain good ball control, neutralize the opponent's serves, and manage the rally's pace to set up your next move. At its core, at a higher level, the push is about manipulating the ball to create a difficult situation for your opponent. You can use a short push to keep the ball tight to the net, preventing a powerful attack, obviously unless they flick. And despite the negative connotations on pushing long, you can even push long effectively against good players. A push can be a sharp, spinny ball sent long. You can dig it long. While it's not an attack, its heavy spin and deep placement make it difficult for your opponent to get a good attack themselves. Pushing also allows you to place the ball more precisely. I do believe that it is a slightly easier shot than most flicks, and that allows you to tinker with the placement a little bit more. And of course, the main benefit of the push is that if you're just looking to get a serve back, if it has backspin, maybe even topspin, you can do a push. It's a high percentage shot, and more often than not, you're going to land your push on unless you misjudge the amount of spin completely. And now let's look at the decision-making process. Let me explain to you some things that you need to keep in mind before deciding between a push or a flick. A major one is the incoming spin on the ball or the serve. Against heavy backspin, pushing is generally safer. Flicking heavy backspin can be risky. For a lighter backspin, top spin, side spin, no spin, the flick is usually more effective. Make sure you understand what spin is on the ball before you decide to push or flick. The next thing you have to keep in mind is the height of the ball. It's all about risk and reward here. A short, high ball is ideal for a flick. You have so much margin for error over here. But whereas a shorter, low ball, it's way harder to flick. This is when you need to incorporate short pushes into your game. Consider your preferred rally pattern. If you want to initiate a fast topspin rally, that's where your strength is, then you go for a flick. You start that sort of rally. And obviously your confidence level between the two shots matters. If you're really confident with the flick for whatever reason, do the flick more, prefer the flick. If you're really confident with the push, which I feel most people are, then do the push. Sometimes it's just about percentage. Whatever you can do more, whatever you can do better is what you need to do sometimes. And of course, it's not just a binary. Employing a smart mix of both flicks and pushes keeps your opponent off balance and guessing, creating many problems for them within the first 3 balls. Top players constantly vary their serve returns. Over-reliance on one sort of shot, a flick or a push, doesn't work. You need a good arsenal of both. Now, my knees are sort of dying, so we better get back to the original camera angle. If this decision mentioned, the push or the flick is something that you constantly hesitate on, then you're the exact type of player that can benefit from Table Tennis United. Inside there, you're going to get a large selection of courses that's constantly expanding. That took me over $24,000 in training to learn. You're also going to get your own footage reviewed by me in live calls every week. You'll get 24/7 coaching feedback, you'll get drills, you get so many systems within table tennis that help me go from never having trained competitively in my life at 14 to then getting into the state team at 15, and all that discipline, knowledge, information, it's all in just one community full of courses, feedback, people like you, people with the same goals. I just think it's amazing. So if you're interested, hit the top link in the description. But now it's time to discuss some common mistakes that a lot of people make. I used to make a lot when deciding between the push or the flick. The first one being always flicking. Trying to attack every short ball regardless of spin or height. This is just so ridiculously stupid. You can't be so one-dimensional. You need to understand when the push is the better option. You need to understand when the flick is the better option. You need to understand the interplay between the two and pick the high percentage, safer and more effective option. That's how you build a base for a good rest of the point. Another mistake you can make with the flick is hitting without a plan at all. A lot of people flick because flicking feels good, as do a lot of things in table tennis. Looping feels good. Flicking just feels amazing, right? You can add come on, you gotta have a plan, a simple target. Okay, I'm gonna target my opponent's body, sort of crossover point. Pinpoint somewhere, have a target for your flick, have a goal for your flick, and that's gonna help you set up your point way better. Another massive mistake you can make when flicking is hesitation, not fully committing to the flick. The worst shots in table tennis are the half flicks, half pushes. You just don't know what you're doing. It's so common in amateur intermediate players that just stick their hand out without any real goal of what they're going to do with this short serve. If you're going to flick, decide from moment one. You got to go, you got to flick. If you're going to push, decide from moment one. You got to decide from the very beginning, because if you don't know, you're about to contact the ball and you don't even know between the two, you're going to play this half flick pushy shot and it's not going to look like Marlong's push flick. It's just going to be a crappy mix of the two. Another big mistake you can make, especially when playing against a higher, more versatile level of player, is always pushing passively, high, long, without much spin, always giving your opponent so many opportunities to attack, just letting your opponent run all over you. You need to learn to vary the depth, the angle, the spin of all these pushes. Obviously, you also want to make sure that you're not just pushing long. Half long is the most you should be aiming for in most cases. If you can catch your opponent off guard and dig very deep, push very deep, good, but half long is really the most you should be going. Most of your pushes should be short. Now when you're practicing this, there are a few things that I want you to keep in mind, that I would keep in mind. You want to practice with purpose. Try and simulate that real-time decision-making process within your brain and within your body of choosing between the push or the flick. This video isn't about teaching you how to do the push or teaching you how to do the flick. It's about deciding between the two, and the best drill for that is to have your opponent serve any sort of spin and deciding promptly and choosing the right shot. And remember, when you're practicing this, when you're practicing decision-making drills, one thing I like to tell myself is to relax. We can get really tense, very rigid when we're doing shot selection drills, but it's so key that you stay relaxed. Footwork is also essential when you're pushing and flicking. This isn't a tutorial about how to do either of them, but you need to stay close and stay compact and go to wherever you're pushing or flicking the ball on the table. Doing this when you're doing a forehand flick or doing this when you're doing a backhand flick, rubbish. Don't do this, don't do this. You want to step in, play, turn into the shot, turn into the flick, push, come close. You want to focus on reading your opponent's serves, reading the amount of spin that's on your opponent's pushes as well. And specifically when it comes to the short game, when it comes to serve receive, when it comes to this aspect of the game, not the open game, you need to try and think 2 or 3 shots ahead. What does pushing here, pushing to this side of the table, knowing my opponent, knowing the way that the match is going, what is that going to result in? Try and think 2 or 3 shots ahead. Anyways, applicable steps. What can you do right now? First, internalize the why. You can watch this video back, but you need a good understanding of why you're going to do a push and why you're going to do a flick. Understanding why I'm doing something in table tennis changes everything for me. I look at it from a completely different perspective. It's so important that you understand why you're pushing and flicking. I can't stress that enough. That's going to improve your decision making so much when you're deciding between the two. But also analyze your opponents. Start actively scouting your opponent's weaknesses, your styles, how they might react to pushes, to flicks, to serves, etc. Think 2-3 points ahead, 2-3 balls ahead, apologies. And of course, incorporate drills that force you to make real-time decisions. Doing 100 multi-ball flicks, doing 100 multi-ball pushes is not going to do anything. You want to build instinct and confidence, and to do that, you need to recruit that table tennis decision-making process in your head. So, deciding between the push or the flick is a defining moment in every rally. Mastery of this strategic interplay relies on you choosing the right shot based on so many factors that we've discussed in this video. It's about a good combination of the push and the flick. They work together and build your game, giving you a stronger base. So practice with purpose, stay relaxed, prioritize your footwork, and you're going to develop a strong receiving game, and it's going to set you up so well for the rest of the point, the rally, the game, the set, the match. That's it from me, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed.